Happy Thanksgiving. Welcome into a slam-packed episode of PTN Extra. A lot of news came out earlier today. I'm Evan Kamiko, as always, alongside Mike Irwin. Mike, let's not waste any more time. Let's talk about this big news that hit so far. Earlier today, Trey Schapp reported that Arkansas is coming close to an agreement with USF head coach Alex Golesh to be the next head Razorback football coach. A little bit about the next potential head hog. Again, nothing has been agreed to yet. There's nothing signed, but indications are saying that Golesh is on his way to Fayetteville to be the next coach. Again, nothing is signed. This is not confirmed yet. A little background on Alex Golesh, 41 years old from Moscow, Russia. Started his coaching career at Toledo. He was a GA actually at Ohio State before that, where he got his undergrad. 2015 to 2012 to 15 spent time at Illinois as the tight ends coach, running game coordinator, special teams coach, was the RBs coach at Toledo, then went to Iowa State with Matt Campbell. He was the tight ends coach, running game coordinator there. 2020, that's where he met Josh Heupel, spent time as the UCF co-offensive coordinator and tight ends coach. He followed Heupel to Tennessee in 2021 to 2022. He was the OC there. And then made it to USF. He took over a program that was 1-11 the year before and transformed it. There you can see his record since being the head Bulls coach. 22-15, 495.8 total yards of offense, 42.2 total points. At UT, the offense, again, spectacular. Number one in scoring that season, 47.3 points per game. Number one in yards per game. Number one in points per possession. Yards per play, you get the idea. He's been really good, learned under Tim Beckman. Obviously, Campbell, who at one point was potentially linked to this Arkansas job, and of course, the head coach in Knoxville, Josh Heupel. Mike, no one wants to hear me anymore. Your thoughts on this potentially happening?
Well, it came out of left field. I first heard his name right about the time that we knew Sam Pittman wasn't going to be here. So all these names started popping up, and he was in that group of initial names of Rhett Lashley and there were like 5 or 6, and he was one of them. But what I was told almost from the beginning, almost up until now, was that he had his eye on Florida. I mean, he's there at South Florida. They beat Florida this year, really hoping he could get that job. And so I just sort of had it out of my mind all this time. And so some people are saying, well, then how does he suddenly end up with this job? The only thing I can figure out, and Otis Kirk had put out on the internet a couple of days ago that he did an interview for the job, and people are saying, well, now Otis didn't know what he was talking about. I don't know who his source was, but I know generally where he got his information. And it was good information, every reason to believe that it was true, and the guy could have smokescreened him, he could have been genuinely not knowing, or a third possibility is that they had not interviewed him. And I know for a fact that as of Monday night, I was sitting there looking at Kane Womack. I was being told that the Florida's defensive coordinator was likely, and was talking to different people about him to get more information. And then all of a sudden somebody called me and said, wait a minute, they put a stop on that. Apparently there's some booster interference. There may be an issue there that he doesn't meet the criteria of a proven head coach. He'd been a head coach at South Florida, but only for 3 years, and he's not currently one, blah, blah, blah. I still felt like that when this all meshed out, he would still get the job. And all of a sudden this happened today. Well, it could possibly be that they reached out back to Golesh again a third time because they had this issue with Womack, and he could have found out he's not in the mix for the Florida job. And he could have suddenly been interested, and so without doing a formal interview, he knew they were interested. When they called him again, he said, yeah, I'll talk to you. And they could have visited, and he said, because the wording on that story that Trey Schapp broke was he had agreed to become the next head coach. So he could have agreed. So what you have to worry about now is until you get that in writing, things can still change. And what I will bring up is what happened when the last time Arkansas, Hunter Yurachek went on a search for a head football coach. When Chad Morris got fired, the first person he talked to was Lane Kiffin. I was talking to somebody that knew what was going on there, and the guy told me Kiffin has agreed to accept the job. And I said, well, then I need to put that out. And he said, no, hold on to that. They're going to send him the paperwork. Wait till he sends it back to them. Then you can go with it. And I'm glad that I listened, because what happened was he never sent the paperwork back. And he then ended up going to Ole Miss. So until you get something signed, and we don't have any reason to believe that they've signed anything yet. could happen within the next day or two. People are speculating how this would come about. I can't see him coming in here for a press conference when he's got a game coming up. So maybe you wait till after the game, maybe on a Sunday or a Monday, and then you have the press conference, and by then you've got something signed. There has been information sent out by South Florida where they said they're aware of other opportunities that he has.
Yeah.
That could mean just the Arkansas. It could be. I noticed the word opportunities, plural.
Yeah.
So that kind of, I'm kind of going, is there somebody else that's looking at him too? So there's still some things to be worked out here.
Yeah, and to your point, that's Rob Higgins, the CEO of USF Athletics. He said Coach Golesh has been presented with outside opportunities that he has been transparent about with us. We are respectful and supportive of Coach and his family in their decision-making process. And then further on continued that, they'll be waiting. So again, Brett McMurphy of On3 said about 35 minutes ago from when we're recording this, around 3:30 on Wednesday afternoon, he has not accepted any offers to leave right now. So again, there is nothing that's been finalized. We want to be very, very clear right now on PTN Extra about that. But to your point, it could. Now, let's play kind of devil's advocate, right? Let's say Golesh has accepted the job. What do you like about him and his background that he will bring to Arkansas to get Hog fans excited, or at least more excited than if it were to be Alabama defensive coordinator Kane Womack, which was kind of the talk of the town a couple of days ago?
Yeah, he's one of these force of nature guys. He's a big burly guy. There's a video on the internet if you want to look it up. They beat somebody. I can't remember the team. But the guy, they beat him pretty bad, and the opposing coach didn't like what he said to him. I don't know what he said, like, yeah, we whipped you guys or whatever. And he followed him, and the guy Golesh kept turning around like, what are you following me for? Get away from me. I think the key thing, though, with him is when he has that first press conference, how does he come across? He needs to come across completely the opposite of Sam Pittman, who always came across as, if he didn't know something, he would just admit it. I'm not sure. I don't know. No, there should be no I'm not sures, no I don't knows. Everything, whether he knows the answer to something or not, he should say he knows the answer and look authoritative and give people the idea, hey, I want this job, I'm here. First of all, he has to explain, was he interested in the job all along? And was that all a smokescreen, or did it come up at the last minute? Because that's going to come up. Were you looking at other jobs until the last minute and then you decide, because the fans maybe not as warm to him as they think he just backed into this job because he didn't get another one. So he's got to sell people, no, I really wanted to be here. The final thing I think, yes, I think everybody understands he brings his own culture, whatever that is, to the program. But we know how it is around here. You've got to sort of adapt to some things that are here. For instance, what if he comes in here and says, you know what, that hog call thing, that sounds kind of corny. Could we tone that down? That's not going to fly well. What if he came in and said, I don't like these uniforms? And he changed the uniforms and put a weird-looking hog on the helmet, and there were strange colors, and people were like, what? So don't do any of that culture-changing stuff. Do whatever you want to do in terms of coaching, but do your best to come in here and adjust to the culture that's here. The hog call, the helmet, the hog on the helmet. No wacky looking hog, get the traditional looking hog, either the slobber hog or the running razorback. Those are the two that everybody accepts. And different things like that, just adjust to the culture.
I think, again, culture shock for anyone coming into Arkansas. It's such a unique place. Northwest Arkansas is gorgeous. I had to deal with that a couple of years ago when I first moved here. But all of that aside, right, you like what he does on the football field on the offensive side of the ball. But what's been the biggest problem for this team this year? The defensive side of the ball. So for me, I'm curious, who's he going to bring as his defensive coordinator? That's going to be my number one question, and I think a lot of Razorback fans at home would probably agree with that because, again, you've got to find the right guy who's going to come here and be the DC. Kane Womack is known for his defense. Everywhere he's gone, that defense has gotten better. Again, not saying he's the head coach, not saying he would get more excitement than Alex Golesh. I think in today's day and age of football, fans get more excited about an offensive guy and what he can do. We know the Razorback offense this year has been really, really good at times, and then your quarterback's been really, really bad at times. So it's kind of polarization of the offense, but what's he going to do on the defensive side of the ball to take what's arguably been one of the worst defenses in college football and flip that in about 9 to 12 calendar months?
Well, if he could come in with a defensive coordinator and maybe even have this guy with a press conference, if he could do what Womack could do, because when I studied Womack's philosophy as a defensive coordinator, it was the polar opposite of what Arkansas is. Mm-hmm. Right off the bat, you start reading about not just blitzes, multiple blitzes, disguised blitzes. This is the most puzzling thing to me about the last 3 years under Arkansas with the defense. Every time you turn around, it was a three-man pass rush, which mm-hmm. didn't work. Yeah. And they couldn't get at anybody. Then the other thing is his tackling philosophy. Womack's philosophy was swarm tackle. They don't have one of these one guy reaches and he gets juked and there's nobody else around him. You got to surround the guy. You got to swarm tackle him. And then there was this thing that I read where the guy was saying that Womack was really a defensive kind of version of Nick Saban. And in that, at Alabama, he took five-star guys and guys, transfer portal guys that were getting a lot of money, and he treated them like they were nobodies. But you have to do the job. I don't care if you're a five-star. I don't care if we're paying you $450,000 to be a linebacker, and this guy over here is getting $20,000. I don't care mm-hmm. about that. I play the guy that gives the effort. And so if he can do all of that, then I think it will help sell people on the idea of, yes, the head coach is an offensive guy, but we're solving the defense too. But here's the thing I always say. We can talk till we're blue in the face. We can go through next spring. We can go through August camp. The only thing that matters is when they start playing games next fall.
Yeah, it's always fun to speculate and do all of this, but we were speculating 5 months ago that, hey, the defense is going to look better. You had Sorey back, Cam Bulk, Quincy Rose.
Wrong.
And, man, we couldn't be further from the truth. Yeah. And that was, I think, really evident this past weekend against Texas. We'll get there. Any final thoughts on this potential Golesh coaching search before we wrap up and talk a little bit about Mizzou?
No, I just think whatever's going on behind the scenes, I'd get the paperwork done like today, if I could. I'd say, hey, sign this stuff now. If that's who they want, sign it.
Put pen to paper right away. I think that's really important. Dana Altman, another name out there that Arkansas fans kind of know. Well, he was coming until he wasn't, and now he's been at Oregon ever since. So let's talk about it. Arkansas last week goes down to Texas. We'll do this really briefly. It's senior day this weekend. Absolutely let go of the rope in the second half. At one point, Texas had a 30-point lead. That ended up being, 17, 18 points, so a little bit closer than you thought. Now you get them home last week of the regular season against Missouri. Last game for Arkansas fans to watch. What do you make of senior day this upcoming weekend and some pretty bad weather, which our meteorologist Davion Huggins told us about just a little bit ago?
It's supposed to be cold, it's supposed to be windy, it's supposed to be raining. Unless you're talking tornadoes, you couldn't come up with a worse weather scenario than that. Maybe if it was freezing. But so there's going to be a lot of reasons for people to go, yeah, I got tickets, but I'm not going. I'll just watch it on TV. So they're not going to have the benefit of a full stadium or a lot of crowd noise behind them. To make matters worse, Missouri has been missing their starting quarterback. Mm-hmm. They got him back last week. He wasn't great, but he'd been out for a while. Yeah. Okay, now he's got a game behind him, and he's much better than who they had. Their number 3 guy. So that's typical Arkansas. You get back their starting quarterback, who's very good, by the way.
Yeah.
So you're going to have to deal with him. And Arkansas doesn't have a good pass rush, and this guy can run, he can throw. He's very much a Arch Manning type, as far as I'm concerned. He has those skills. So that doesn't look good. The only thing that to me would be interesting about this game from an offensive standpoint is who starts, and we don't know. Bobby Petrino said it's 50-50. I'll give them both a shot. People that I've talked to think he's probably going to start Taylon Green because he's a senior, he's a captain. You owe it to him on senior day to start him. But if there are problems early on, then you go to KJ Jackson. The thing about Taylon Green is he's been good in the first half. So do you play him whole first half and then automatically start?
Yeah.
Just say, well, you're not very good in the second half. Now we're going to give it to KJ Jackson.
That's the million-dollar question right now. We kind of knew that, Taylon had a little bit of hamstring problems, so he's pulled out of the game. Bobby said he was good to go back in, but you just never saw him back in that Texas game. Again, to your point on Mizzou, Bo Pribula, Penn State transfer, has looked really good at times there, obviously battling injuries. Ahmad Hardy is one of the best running backs in the entire SEC. Mizzou is who he plays for. And that's unfortunate for Arkansas when your interior defense hasn't been good, your run defense hasn't been good, and he might run all over the Razorbacks this weekend, kind of like Cody Schrader did a couple of years ago. So it's going to be a really fun and interesting game, I think, between the two of them. And especially for Arkansas, this quarterback conundrum, as I like to call it, has been really fascinating because, again, you had Bobby on Monday say, they're both okay to go this week. And you do, right? You do owe it to Talon to start. But maybe it's just a drive, right? Like maybe it's not the entire game. What do we know? But at this point, Bobby goes out today, says kind of a thank you message to Arkansas. It looks like he's not going to get the long-term job. So what's he really coaching for the rest of the way, right? Like there's not much for one final game to say, oh, I'm going to be able to stay at Arkansas and be the next head coach, especially if after what we've said over the last 10 minutes or so is true. Anything else about football before we take a quick break and head over to basketball?
I think you've covered it.
I think we did too. Really quickly, do you know 6'7" and kind of the Hunter Yurachek going on college football yesterday?
Isn't that a thing with
I think so.
on what's it on Instagram where they do that a
Yeah.
lot? It's like, it doesn't matter, 6'7", 6'8". Well, he played into that when he was asked if it would affect Ole Miss's standing, because where are they?
They're now at 7, but they were at 6.
So he just went, 7, 6, and he does that. A lot of people took that and said, look, he's a bozo. But they must not be aware of he was really trying to be funny.
Yeah. I like the idea of doing the meme again. This is all about will Lane Kiffin be there? That was the question Reese Davis asked him. And he said, well, it's one and the same, and probably is. I mean, look, those teams, Oregon and Ole Miss, probably not going to play for a conference title, but are good enough to be in as that third and fourth SEC Big Ten team. So we'll see what happens, but that's going to do it right now for PTN Extra. We'll take a quick break. We're talking Hog Hoops and Thanksgiving after this. Stick around. Back here on PTN Extra, Evan Kamiko, Mike Irwin. Mike, we've talked a lot about football, but let's talk a little bit about basketball. A marquee matchup tomorrow. Duke and Arkansas facing off. Duke, the number 4 team in the country. The Razorbacks, number 22. That'll be in Chicago at the United Center. Another CBS Thanksgiving game for Cal and the Hogs. What do you make of this matchup?
Cameron Boozer. What are you going to do about him? 21 points a game, 6'9". I would say Trevin Brazile, who's having 13 points a game, 6'9" forward. That's a big matchup. But I think it's going to take all, because he's not the only thing they have inside. This is a big team. I think it's going to take all of those 3 bigs playing their butts off, but I think it's going to take the whole team to even – they could very easily lose by 10, 12, 15 points. These guys beat Tennessee in Knoxville by 6, okay? Tennessee just got through beating Houston. Mm-hmm. Tennessee is good, and they beat them on their own home floor. So Duke is good. They're really good, and they'll be hard to beat. And I think if it's just a close game, then you can rack that up to, okay, not bad. Just don't get blown out.
Yeah, again, the Blue Devils, 7-0. They've got wins so far in the regular season over Texas and Kansas. So far, you mentioned it, Cameron Boozer is the name to watch. 16 points per game, 5 boards, 1.5 steals per game. Just named ACC Rookie of the Week. So he's an absolute monster. Then you've got Patrick Ngongba, the center there, 13 points, 6.7 boards per game. Going to be interesting to see how TB and Pringles-Ewan match up with Boozer as well as Ngongba, because that's kind of where it's going to come down to. Arkansas, you like the guards better. I think the Razorbacks guards have definitely been better off this season so far than the leading guard for the Duke Blue Devils and Isaiah Evans. But I'll be curious to see how, if DJ Wagner's running the show early on, or is it going to be Acuff and Malik Thomas? Who gets Arkansas in an offensive flow first?
Yeah, I'm not sure, but all of them need to play. The 3 guards need to all play well. The 3 wings need to play well. Yeah. The bigs need to be played well. You can't have somebody in there not playing well. So, I don't care who it is, Billy Richmond or whatever, Carter Knox, can't come in there and score 2 points or something and have 12 minutes of playing time. You got to be productive when you're there.
Absolutely. I know it's feast week. I know we're really early in the season, but are you a little nervous if Arkansas loses this game where maybe instead of in March we're saying, man, they're going to be a top 4 seed, 1, 2, 3, or 4, 2. Oh, is this going to be a repeat of last year where they're a, 7, 8, 9, 10 team trying to fight and get far in the playoffs?
Well, I don't think they're going to start conference play 0-6 or 0-7 or whatever. I wouldn't panic like that. The schedule is just tough, and it's tough for a reason. I don't think Cal expected to get through this thing unbeaten, and as we know, they've already lost a game because they went to a really good ranked team and lost in a true road game. So he's trying to expose them to what it's going to be like when you get in January, February. So I wouldn't worry too much. Again, you just don't want to get blown out. You want to be competitive against these guys.
Yeah, something like the Michigan State, I think a result like that is really good. Again, neutral site, so you'd assume there'd be more Arkansas fans in the United Center, rather Duke fans who have to come all the way from the East Coast to Chicago, whereas Arkansas fans can drive the 7-8 hours up to one of the best cities in the entire country.
Well, we'll see. I saw something on Twitter where the guys these were Hog fans on a plane, and they were in first class, and they were flying to the game. So that must be nice.
Yeah, absolutely.
And we have our own guy up there too.
We do. Hayden Herrera going to be up there covering the game, bringing you all the coverage you need. Tomorrow, a fun Thanksgiving showdown between Arkansas and Duke. Well, we've got one more break to hit here on the PTN Extra for this week. I was going to say the Pig Trail Show. I don't know if it's Sunday. I don't know if it's Wednesday, but today's Wednesday. It's PTN Extra. When we come back, Mike and I talking about what we're thankful for this season with Arkansas Athletics. One fun last block coming out your way. We'll be right back after the break. Winding down our show here on this Wednesday before Thanksgiving, and what better time than today, Mike, than to talk about what we're thankful for about this Arkansas Razorback 2023, 2024, 2024, 2025 calendar year. Give me two things that you're thankful for this year that have happened in Razorback sports. Let's be thankful. Let's end on a good note and not talk about all the bad stuff. But Mike, for Thanksgiving, what are you thankful for?
Yeah, I'm thankful to have Cal here. He's been a pleasant surprise. I didn't know what to make of it when he came here. It wasn't so much about whether he could coach or not. What's he like to be around, and how will he fit into the culture here? And he's fit in really well. In fact, when we talk about Golesh, here's what Golesh needs to do. He needs to start doing what Cal did. Go around and be at the other games, go to baseball games, go to basketball games, be seen, be around the other coaches, because that's what Cal did. I like the way Cal brought in former Razorbacks. He brought in some guys from the 94 National Championship team, had them talk to his players, say, hey, we know what it takes to win a national championship here, and we think you can do it, but you got to do this and you got to do that. So I like that. I appreciate what he did. And then you just always appreciate Hog baseball. And they got back to the College World Series. You had a no-hitter in you didn't win it all, and you don't have the NIL money that LSU has, but you did. At least you made it, because there were two previous years in which they didn't get out of their own. They didn't get out of Fayetteville, and you beat Tennessee and you beat Vitello. Yeah. And then you ran Vitello off, right? He took off and had to go to Major League Baseball.
I was going to say, that was what I was going to be, the first thing I was going to be thankful for is that Arkansas baseball run. Again, it seems that every 3 years under Dave Van Horn since the late 2000s that this team gets to Omaha. So if you're here for a couple of years, you're automatically probably going to go to Omaha. So that was fun. What an awesome team to cover. Whether that was, the seniors and Will McIntyre, Kendall Diggs, who have been here for a couple of years, the young freshmen who are really coming on the scene, Vahiva Aloy, Golden Spikes winner. A lot to be thankful for about Arkansas baseball, but I'll be the second thing I'll be thankful for has got to be a tie between Arkansas soccer and Arkansas softball. Another team in Courtney Deiffel's squad. We'll start there. One of the best years. Thankful for Brie Ellis that she was a Razorback this year. What a fun way to watch the two best players in college baseball and softball both play on the same campus. How awesome was that? And then always thankful for Colby Hale and that program every single year getting to the NCAA tournament, winning titles, 5 SEC regular season titles in the last 7 seasons. It's absolutely impressive. Hog fans, that's what you should be thankful for, in my opinion. The fact that your softball team might even be better this year without the National Player of the Year and the soccer program that's consistently good. But Mike, outside of Razorback sports, what are you thankful for?
Oh, my grandkids coming over for Thanksgiving. Kids and grandkids. Wife always cooks everything. Everybody's happy, and you just sit around, watch TV, and just have fun. Yeah, what a day it is. I will say I'm thankful for my family back home down in Florida. I know they're all together. My mom, my dad, my sister spending time with my grandfather as well. And always thankful for them. The support that I get from back home is really cool. All of my friends who have been trying to keep up and trying to text me, hey, what do you know? What do you know? I'm thankful for everybody. Thankful for you all, our viewers, every week. I know whether you're here to just listen to this guy or whether you kind of like listening to me, even though I know I talk fast, we're thankful for each and every one of you for watching PTN Extra over the last year and a half. Mike, anything else you want to say before we wrap up and we send it to another week and maybe a finalized coach next week? I want to be able to say the next time we do one of these that it's not, we know by then we'll know who the coach is, right? Yeah. we won't have to put up with Gruden. There'll be no Gruden. It will not be Gruden. It will never be Gruden. It's never been Gruden. And we'll be able to continue to say it's not Gruden.
I think you should tell that to Trey Dare because he probably needs to hear that more than anybody else. But for everybody in our crew who's making this happen, thank you guys. For all of you at home every single week who tune into PTN Extra, thank you. Mike Irwin, thank you. Thankful for you that you let me do this with you every single week, whether you like it or not.
Oh,
we have such a blast. Thankful for everybody. Happy Thanksgiving for everyone at home. We really appreciate you all. For Mike Irwin, I'm Evan Kamiko. This is another PTN Extra.